It is just after 11:15. Andrew Urquhart with you on the program, and talking about changing seasons beforehand. We're kind of shaking off the last vestiges of winter, hopefully, he says, and getting ready for summer. That also means a change of codes, wrapping up the winter sports and getting ready for summer sports. Well, joining us on the program now, talking all things sport, is a National Director of Athletes in Action in New Zealand, Jono Donald. Jono, kia ora, good morning. Thanks for your time today.
Good morning, Andrew. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Actually, it is that sort of changing season, really, isn't it? We're wrapping up the winter sports, cricket on the horizon and all that type of stuff. When it comes to big events, sports events over the week, though, NRL Final. Were you happy with the result, Jono?
Yeah, what a final. What a final, actually. I mean, I love my Union personally, but I got to tune in for the big games, and the Penrith Panthers looking to go 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
It was an epic final if you caught it a bit later here in New Zealand, but Penrith got the result and won the fourth championship in a row. I was just thinking, imagine if the Warriors even won one championship. We'd have a public holiday and there'd be parades and phenomenal to watch, though. Yeah, phenomenal to watch that.
Honestly,
final.
I think we'd have a national holiday if the Warriors made the final. But but hey, as you say, for Penrith, this is 4 in a row, and up against what was it, Melbourne Storm for the final, wasn't it? And this was a bit of a grudge match for them, I understand.
Yeah, I think the Storm had actually beaten them twice throughout the year, and 5 years ago, Penrith were in the final and they lost to the Storm.
Yeah.
So yeah, a bit of history here. But they got the job done. They got the result 14-6. At one point in the first half, now I will give it to League because it is exciting. Yeah. They said it had been 35 minutes of gameplay and the ball had been in play for 32 of those minutes.
Wow.
So there's no stopping and starting. It's just brutal collisions and lots of kicks and some really silky skills. So it was fun to watch.
It is good. And I mean, hey, as you say, rugby league not your oval ball sport of choice, but they're big show ponies, really, and it is quite a spectacle there. Is there developing, though, part of a problem where you've got, okay, here's the top tier teams in the NRL. You know, the Panthers 4 years in a row, and meanwhile the Warriors, not really a hope, especially with Shaun Johnson saying, hey, that's it, boys, it's been a good run. Are we getting a little bit of us and them, not just between the Aussies and the Kiwis, but actually, okay, you got these top tier teams, and you got the also-rans?
I don't know. To be honest, I'm not sure, but I do. You know, the Warriors, true fashion, next year will be our year. I think we're going to build again. We had a good run last year. You know, if we have a good one every so often, I think that'll keep us faithful. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And hey, I hear Shaun Johnson's joining the Kiwis, so hey, maybe a positive outcome in league for New Zealand, just for a different team, right?
Yeah, I mean, he had that miracle finish with the Warriors, so maybe he can carry that to the Kiwis. I think he's come in as injury cover, so we'll see if he gets to suit up, but we're all for it.
Now, from league to rugby, again, this season wrapping up with the NPC. Now, this is proper rugby. This isn't the show ponies of league and even worse Aussie rules. This is good provincial rugby. This is honest rugby. It's not about the sponsorship and the power mullets. This is about grassroots rugby. Would you agree with me there?
Yeah, NPC, the quarterfinals kick off tonight. Mm-hmm. Wellington is hosting counties, and then there's actually a good slate of games. Across the weekend, and a number of All Blacks are actually turning out. Yeah. I think the All Blacks have released them to go and play a bit of provincial. So you always love to see that, getting back to grassroots. That's where it all started for these guys. So should be some good games on the line.
Yeah, should be good. And hey, it hasn't been a brilliant year for the All Blacks, but having All Blacks back in your local team, that's going to give a boost to the local fans. May even give a boost to the attendance figures. Do you have a favourite team? Are you fiercely loyal when it comes to NPC, regardless of the results?
I grew up in Northland, so the Taniwha is the team I like to support. Come this time of year, we don't normally get to see a lot of footy. So I'll be tuning in to see what's going on and hope for some close contests.
Now, happening in the Northern Hemisphere, of course, the America's Cup. Now, last time you and I were chatting, I said some very rude things about Team New Zealand. I'm going to try and behave myself this time. But I suppose getting to the business end, they've had the Challenger Series. We now know who Team New Zealand are going to be up against. And a bit surprising that it's the English team.
Yeah, phenomenal, actually. So Ineos Britannia, they've come through the Louis Vuitton Series. And not many would have, I mean, they were sort of one of the contenders.
Yep.
They weren't one of the bottom ones, but what a phenomenal series to see them race against Luna Rossa. I think, to see Jimmy Spittle, get kicked out, we sort of liked that a little bit.
That was great.
But I watched most of those races. Now, I'll give you a little tip here because I've been looking at the schedule for the America's Cup.
Yeah.
Racing starts Sunday night at 1 a.m.
Wow.
So are you going to be getting up? For me, I've got young kids, and so just a tip is you get up really early the next day, and they've got full replays on YouTube.
Yeah,
and you can catch all the racing. So that's what I've been doing actually throughout the series, is just catching these races and watching Ineos against Luna Rossa.
Yeah,
what a series! These boats are doing at some points over 100 kilometers an hour. Incredible pieces of machinery and skill to drive them or fly them or whatever you want to call it.
It's kind of a combination of both, isn't it? Yeah. Hey, something else which I found out because as I say, I'm not much of a yachtsman. But when I was Googling this before our conversation, I saw that there's a women's competition for the America's Cup. That's an exciting development. Yeah,
there's all sorts of little precursors or side races, or I actually saw a little bit of that as well. I think there's 4 of them in each boat, but there must be a bit of a smaller boat. But love to see just the whole development around sailing and lots of foiling boats, these really exciting boats. I stumbled upon the other day from the year 2000, New Zealand against Prada, or it might have been Alingi, and these boats are like 100 feet long with about 50 people on them, and they're going very slowly. So I like these new boats. They're amazing and just fascinating to watch.
It's all over and done with fastest, especially if you're watching the YouTube highlights the next morning. The trick is, I suppose, to watch the highlights before you hear the result on the news driving to work in the morning. Hey, certainly wish the team well for what happens on Monday, and hey, sorry that the Northland team isn't part of the NPC quarterfinals, but Jono, appreciate what you bring. Just as we wrap up today, looking at motivation in sport generally, because, look, different people motivated for different things, but bringing a faith perspective to this, finding sports motivation in our faith?
Yeah, again, Athletes in Action, we're always talking about faith and sport and how to integrate these two things together. And so motivation is a topic we talk about a lot with athletes. And I think there's a lot of things that come to mind for me when I think about what is it that motivates an athlete. It could be winning, it could be the joy of play, winning others over, parents or coaches' approval, impressing others, status, or even a career. But when I look at most of these things that kind of surface level motivations, a lot of them are out of our control.
Yeah.
And at a deeper level, what I think an athlete is looking for is contentment. Contentment isn't bad, but a game or a sport is never meant to satisfy our heart's deepest desires or to satisfy us at that deeper level. And so there's actually a verse in the Bible that comes to mind for me, looking at Philippians 4:13. And at a quick snapshot, this verse says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, a lot of athletes maybe take this verse and they take it out of context and think, I can actually do anything. I can get the win.
Yeah.
I can achieve all my goal, all of these surface level motivations. But if you look in the previous couple of verses, what Paul's talking about here is he says, not that I'm speaking of being in need, for I've learned in whatever situation to be content.
Yeah.
I know how to be brought low and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. How can he do this? In verse 13, he says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Wow.
And so we see that rather than this verse saying, I can achieve everything I ever wanted, it's actually saying, I have everything I need already in Christ. And so more than satisfying other people's approval or gaining things through sport, it's that actually we come to a place where we no longer need to gain other people's approval or achieve these things to feed our identity or who we are through our sport.
I love
so as a motivation, I love this verse, and I love looking at it sort of in that fuller context.
Yeah, I love the context on this one, because when we say I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, that includes dealing with the disappointment of not being where we had hoped we would be. That's what Christ gives us strength to deal with, not just for the wins. Of course, athletesinaction.org.nz for more information about the great work that you do. Jono, thanks so much for joining us on the program today.
Thanks, Andrew. Pleasure to be here.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.